Hello, everyone. Coperg advocate Kirsten Schatz here with a conversation from the Capitol with Senator Chris Hansen. We're here to talk about some important legislation that Senator Hansen sponsored this past session and to get to know him a bit. Senator Hansen, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Before we dive in to talk about legislation, will you share a little bit, first off, what inspired you in the first place to become a lawmaker?
Yeah, it's a great question because I was in a private sector career and had been having a great time with kind of working on energy sector planning and decarbonization projects all over the world. But I really came to the conclusion that if I was serious about trying to do more on climate change, that state legislatures was where the action was going to be, and I think that's largely been the case across the country. And so in 2015, I had what I sometimes refer to as my burn the ships moment. I just left my job and started campaigning for the state house. And now, I had 3 sessions in the Colorado House, and now just finished my fourth in the Senate, and have been really loving this work in the legislature.
That's wonderful. Well, obviously, climate is a big one that looms large for you. Are there any other issues that you're most passionate about tackling next, or what are the next steps that you're looking to tackle when it comes to climate change?
We'll continue to be really focused on climate and energy work. I've done about 50 bills in that area over the course of my career, but also have gotten really involved in budget and tax policy as well. I was on the Joint Budget Committee for several years, still serve on appropriations and do a lot of work on property tax in Colorado. We've got a lot of updates we need to make to that system. So yeah, we'll continue to be, I think, really engaged in some of the big fiscal policy issues alongside the climate and energy work.
Great. You sponsored one of the major bills that Coperg backed this past session. Senate Bill 16 included a whole host of measures to cut greenhouse gas emissions in our state, including from lawn and garden equipment. We know that gas-powered lawnmowers, leaf blowers, trimmers, this kind of equipment produces just a shocking amount of pollution. I know one of my favorite statistics that I know you're familiar with is using that commercial gas-powered leaf blower for just 1 hour produces as much ozone-forming pollution as driving 1,100 miles. This new law will mean that Coloradans can purchase electric mowers, leaf blowers, trimmers, and more, also including snow blowers, at a 30% discount at participating retailers starting early this coming year. And this is really important because if we can fully shift away from gas-powered lawn and garden equipment in our region, we can cut a lot of the ozone pollution that's been harming our health. So my question for you, why is fighting for clean air so important to you personally?
Yeah, I suppose lots of different ways to answer that question. I think first in my mind is for my kids and your kids and for families in Colorado. I mean, we want to give to the next generation a clean and healthy planet. And we urgently need to do more of this work to be able to accomplish that goal. And I've got 2 teenage boys. They're to be in high school this year as they think about, what kind of careers they want to go on to, or higher education and building their lives and and starting families of their own. I mean, how do we give them a safe and healthy planet? And we're behind. There's just no doubt about it. Severe non-attainment in the Front Range in Colorado, huge amount of work that we need to do to reduce ozone pollution, make sure we've got clean air, both with local criteria pollutants, NOx, SOx, particulates, et cetera, and the huge amount of work we need to do on the climate side and reducing CO2. So, I think the easy answer or most straightforward answer for me is it's for my kids, it's for your kids, it's for all of our families in the state.
Amen to that. Tell us a little bit about Senate Bill 16. How did it come about? I know this wasn't the first year that you ran legislation of this type, but yeah, what was kind of the process and the inspiration for this law?
Yeah, it started off as Senate Bill 138 in the 2022 session, which successfully made it through the Senate, had it in the House, got all the way through the committees, and then was held up in the final committee and delayed on the calendar. And then the Senate Republicans decided to filibuster it on the next to last day of the 2022 session. So, it's really disappointing. The Democrats were in control of the House. We should have been able to get it done. for a variety of reasons that didn't happen. And so, when at first you don't succeed, try again. I brought it back, kind of bigger and better, added some new things into the bill for the 2023 session. And fortunately, we were successful at getting it signed into law here just a couple months ago.
Great. Are there any key follow-up steps with this new law that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, the part you mentioned with the electric lawn equipment and snow blowers, right, home equipment, trying to electrify that as fast as possible is the goal. We're doing it, I think, with a really low friction approach for the consumer. They can just show up to the store and it'll be 30% off because of the tax credit that we're offering. And we worked really closely with the retailers to make sure they could implement it easily. And we're going to get some of their overheads covered to be able to do that. So I think we've set a really kind of national model of how to do this policy. And my hope is that we're going to see really quick uptake by the citizens of Colorado. It goes into effect January 1st, and we'll be able to move hopefully quickly to see the results. And, there's a bunch of other parts of the bill that we'll be watching closely. Of course, the headline was about putting in place CO2 reduction goals for the state over the next 20 plus years and making sure that we have a statutory commitment to getting to net zero by 2050. Absolutely is what the science is telling us, and we've got to make progress along the way. And so the bill also put in milestones so that we don't procrastinate, because you could, it's great to have a big goal on the wall, but if you don't have any milestones along the way, you can really quickly fall behind. And unfortunately, that's already happened in Colorado.
Absolutely. I think those are really important, those milestones along the way, like you said. Anything else you'd like to share about this legislation or any other issues that you've kind of got percolating these days?
Yeah, I guess I'm starting to work on legislation for next year already and trying to think about, okay, where's the next place that Colorado can be a leader and be innovative. I think we've done that together really well over the last 4 or 5 years and made massive progress. And so what's next? I'm thinking about things around dispatchable load and creating more flexibility on the demand side in Colorado, along with strengthening our electricity grid and distributed energy resources. If you bring those 3 elements together, we'll really hasten our decarbonization and be able to integrate more wind and solar. So that's really top of mind, because we talked about electric mowers. We need to electrify everything: heat pumps, trucks, cars, mowers, leaf blowers. Everything needs to be electrified, including our stoves. And the faster we can do that, the quicker we can reduce emissions and save consumers money. And so I've really been thinking hard about making sure we have a 21st century power grid that's going to be able to handle that work. So that's definitely top of mind for me as I look out into the future legislative session.
Cutting pollution and saving consumers money. We're all about that. So we're excited to see where that goes from here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate your leadership on these important issues.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. It's great to work with Coburg.